Hello and welcome to a special bonus episode of How We Made Your Mother. I am Josh Radner. I am joined as ever by my good friend and How I Met Your Mother co-creator, Craig Thomas. Hello, Craig.
Hello, Josh.
And this is these are episodes that we call General Questions.
Guys,
General questions.
General questions. I was waiting for you. It's always a lag. I was trying so hard, and I was going to be premature. Can we try it again?
This is
Let's go again.
We call General Questions. General questions.
We're never.
No, but
that was a little better.
I think it's actually like in Einstein terms, the time on the space-time continuum. I think we did do it all at the same moment. We just had to wait for it to go into space and come back.
Here's how I hear it.
Right.
I hear this is how we did it on the show. I'm just honoring. And I know, Alec, you created this in some ancient past, but I say that's a general questions beat. General questions. You have to just honor a beat.
I panic.
But the beat can't be too long. You panic. You give too long a beat, Craig. Yeah. General questions. General questions.
General questions.
Yeah.
See, Josh and I are getting. It's Craig. We've figured this out.
Yeah.
I'll take the hit.
All right. Someone, by the way, I don't know who it is. Someone did a supercut of us fucking this up.
Of us fucking it up.
Did you put that on Instagram or something?
I shared it. I liked it. I did something. I clicked a button.
Well, thank you.
Now,
thank
am
you
I screwing it up, or am I ingeniously extending a runner?
No.
Who could say?
Well,
you just want the bit to go on.
Your
comedy brain is like, we got 9 seasons. Yeah.
I see it as material. Okay, there we go.
So we're following up with some additional stuff around episode 9, Belly Full of Turkey, written by Chris Miller and Phil Lord. And what do we got, Alec? We went pretty deep on this episode last time, but let's finish it off and
lightning round.
Talk. Yeah.
Well, we did. We did. We got a few questions here. I have a question. I'm just gonna point out that once we went to the store where 7-Eleven, where did Lily go? I'm sorry, I didn't watch the show. I don't watch TV.
I don't remember what it was named, and I've watched it many times. But it's a convenience store in St. Cloud, outside St. Cloud, Minnesota.
Right. So
that's its name.
They went to the convenience store. There's a jail. All of a sudden, I start going, how many sets were in this episode?
There's a lot.
A lot.
I mean, this would have been a week where. See, this is fun to talk about, how amazing our crew was, how amazing our set designers were, how amazing, how things had to be Jenga'd around, and just like, there wasn't, it's a big soundstage, stage 22 on the Fox lot. Still think of it as our stage. I don't know who's there right now, but get out, it's ours. And they would have to, when we'd have this many sets, almost surely have had to like overnight dismantle one or two of these sets to put in other ones, right? Because you have multiple spots within the Erickson household. Then you have the jail cell, you have the convenience store, you have the Thanksgiving, the like charity place where the soup kitchen place, and that's 2 rooms, right? There's like a backstage, and then Ted runs out and is throwing the mushrooms out. That's another. In addition to everything else, I may be even leaving some out. That there's no way that all fit and just stayed there for 3 days. For sure, the set magic was happening at night.
I always found it incredible that you would go home at night, you'd come back the next morning, and there's an entire
it's gone
new house built. Like it was extraordinary. Like how quickly they would tear it one thing down. And also, like, this is maybe for people who want to believe a little more deeply in the fiction of it, might not please you. But so you're in the soup kitchen, right? In New York, and you walk 20 feet to your left and you're in St. Cloud, Minnesota. And then you turn around and you're staring at Ted and Marshall's apartment. And then you walk 20 feet to the left and you're in McLaren's bar. One thing I wanted to say that struck me as funny that I forgot to mention, there's something funny, and it's kind of a convention that people use, and we used it a couple times, I think, at How I Met Your Mother, but like when Lily has her breakdown in the convenience store, like it's clearly just like a high school kid, like with a job, like trying to do his best, it's like he's got this like sad person thrown in his lap, and he has to suddenly be like a therapist to her. I just thought that was really funny. I thought that guy was good.
He was really good. It was great. You are taller than described. I love that line.
Right. And also the thing
7
of
foot
like,
tall Ericksons are always telling everyone, Marshall's got this tiny little thing of a girl back in New York.
yeah, but also like this small town, like everyone knows everything. Like that's,
yeah, everyone knows everything. Everyone knows, oh, you know the Ericksons. It's just that the flavor of that was fantastic. Perfectly done. That guy was really good. It would have been nice to learn his name, but we didn't. But hey, you were a good guy. You know who you are.
Becky Strauss 11 asks, can you talk about the inspiration behind Marshall's love for Minnesota and the Vikings and his two brothers and everything Marshall Erickson? Where did Minnesota, is that where Jason's from?
No, Jason's from LA, and the character's parts of the character are, of course, based on me, and I am from Long Island. So no, it was, we had some Midwesterners represented on the writing staff early on.
Was Chuck Tatham already on the show?
Chuck Tatham wasn't on the show yet. What's funny is Chuck Tatham, a very funny writer, joined a few seasons in and is a Canadian. He from just outside near Toronto in Guelph. And he's a very funny Canadian, as is so often the case with Canadians. They seem a little extra funny and brilliant, and he was those things. And he had, he's just over the border there in Toronto, and there were people in his world that would be fans of the Minnesota Vikings. Like it wasn't that huge of a trip to like, you could get in there and sort of like travel and go to a Vikings game, which he did a bunch of times. He became this lifelong Vikings fan despite being a Canadian. And so everything about Marshall loving the Vikings came from Chuck Tatham. Chuck Tatham was legitimately a hardcore Vikings fan since childhood. But why was Marshall from Minnesota? I think we just arrived at it. We thought Lily's a Brooklyn girl, right? We don't want Marshall also to be from New York. We just wanted them to be from two different worlds and meeting at Wesleyan. We didn't want it to be too similar to Ohio. We wanted Ted to be from Ohio, like Josh. Kobe's Canadian. I think we just landed on Minnesota. It wasn't because anyone from the writing staff was literally from there. We just thought it's a world. It's a world to explore. It's a cool other world and energy than we have in the group. So that's why we did it.
It strikes me that you make these decisions and you might make them like pretty flippantly or offhandedly, like just like, like it could be as casual as like, what about Minnesota? And someone's like, yeah, let's do Minnesota. But then you do a show for 9 years and Minnesota becomes like a pretty consequential choice. Like Minnesota fuels a lot of comedy. Minnesota is, it just becomes a bigger deal because of the longevity of the show.
Totally. And it inspires whole episodes. There's a whole episode about finding a Minnesota Vikings bar in New York City. It's like, that's just because of some random, we sort of threw a dart at the map of America and arrived at that. And it becomes this defining thing about Marshall and his love of the Vikings and the flavor of who his family is and all these things. It is amazing. TV is building the car while you're driving it, right? You're never ceasing to build new parts of that car, but it has to also remain in motion the entire time. And that's kind of what's hard about it. And it's what's thrilling and wonderful about it too.
I always felt Jason had a particular glint in his eye around that family. Like when those brothers would show up and I don't know. I think one, Jason, like he kind of got a kick out of being like the runt of the litter because he's always the tallest person. Yeah. And it was just, I could really tell that he enjoyed those Minnesota scenes, So funny.
That 3-month-old baby.
Yeah.
It's like clearly 1 year old. Like all of that stuff was so funny. And Jason was energized by that story. He likes the idea that he got to go be in this whole other world that it's not his own world. And it's not based on Jason, even though Ted and Robin are both like, right. We made their hometowns match your guys' actual hometowns.
Kobe, you retrofitted it to her. You made her from Canada after.
Carter is from Ohio.
Carter's from Ohio, so I stepped in, and it was somewhat coincidental that I also happened to be from Ohio.
Yeah, it's true.
I think it didn't hurt me getting the role.
But yeah, that's what I mean. It was like so right away you were also Ohio that it feels of a piece.
And I wrote you this little ditty to sing to you in New York City.
Josh Radnor, we've missed you very much. No one knows this. This is how the sausage is made to kind of talk. You were away for a couple weeks. We got a little bit ahead recording our little show here, and then now we're catching back up. Now that you're back, in between those two times, you were out on the road, on tour, playing amazing music in various places around America. We have not heard much about it. Could you just paint us a little word picture of what the tour was like?
Yeah, I started in Seattle. and the people there were lovely because I showed up with a terrible sinus infection that turned into a respiratory infection. So I really had to recruit this crowd in Seattle to be on my side, which I did. And they were amazing. And it was, the joy of live performance. Like, look, I'm lowering everything half a step. I'm going to do the best I can. My opener, Ari Tibby, is a great friend of mine, and she has the most extraordinary Linda Ronstadt effortless voice. And I said, when I opened, that phase of the evening, that effortless, beautiful voice, that time's over. That time's over.
And then I'm going to hear a real strain after this.
I said, tonight's going to be like Steve Earle meets Leonard Cohen meets Kermit the Frog. And I realized, like, that's a cool voice. That's a soulful.
I'd pay for that show.
Right? That's a good voice.
You sold me. I want to see that.
Yeah. So I was down there.
Voice.
My second show in Portland, my voice was like almost mostly back. San Francisco, it felt fully back. And then we had great shows in, they were all great in their own way. In Sacramento, in Los Angeles at the Troubadour, where Doug and Alec came and saw me. And then San Diego, we were at the House of Blues, the Voodoo Room. That was a huge, awesome show. And then I ended up at the Musical Instrument Museum in Phoenix, which I don't know if you've ever been, but if you are in Phoenix, please go to the Musical Instrument Museum. It's like the greatest.
Did you go to it? You went. You
I
performed
got a
at that museum.
I'm telling you, Elliot would freak out at this museum.
My son Elliot, that would be. That's Field of Dreams to
was
Elliot.
amazing.
That is Field of Dreams. My little music
And I
boy.
also, because you go on the road and, some people, I realize some people are coming there because they love How I Met Your Mother and they're wearing ducky ties, right? But then by the end, you're like, I think I converted them into fans of music of mine. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care how people come in, but I think they leave feeling that they've spent a nice evening with me. And, it was great to meet people from just all over, people came in, people said, I flew in from Fiji. I flew in from the Philippines. I flew in from Mexico to see you. I mean, it was really extraordinary. Saw a lot of How I Met Your Mother tattoos. A lot of people, hand you art, that bracelets they've made and all kinds of stuff. I mean, it was quite moving. It was really sweet.
So I'm getting the vibe like you're feeling pretty content, pretty satisfied, pretty evolved, pretty good about yourself, yeah?
Well,
feeling pretty good about yourself?
I don't know, Craig. I mean, I had a good, meaningful time that was also hard, but most things that are meaningful have some struggle in them, don't you think?
Yeah, I definitely think that. And I'm about to add a little more struggle as I blow your mind.
What is it?
While you were on this tour, you could have been making some extra cash by hosting your place on Airbnb. Boom. I've just destroyed the entire tour. You'll never think about it the same way again, because now it's a missed opportunity.
I'll never leave home without, hosting my home on Airbnb.
I mean, that would be the smart move. In fact, your home might be worth more than you think. Find out how much at airbnb.com/host.
I was noticing Kobe in this one, who plays a very, a true straight man, straight woman, straight man, yes-anding, the whole thing. There's nothing, she doesn't break in terms of, isn't it weird that we're here in this soup kitchen and bar? Isn't it weird that we're here in a strip club? She plays it so nicely. Just, yep, this is what we're doing.
Along
this
for
is
the
what
ride.
we're doing right now.
Yeah.
Hannah Jo Little asks, oh, this is nice. What was it like working with Bill Fagerbakke? Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yeah, Fagerbakke.
As a 90s, 2000s kid, I always just hear Patrick Starr's voice, but he played Marshall's dad so well. He was perfectly cast. And he quotes, plain food is ass. Tell us about Bill, who was with you for quite a while.
Well, wasn't he was on Coach, right?
He was on Coach. He was Dauber on Coach, and he was in SpongeBob. He's so funny and good in that episode. And like, not to tell, this is the gossipy part of this, and I won't name names, but we had somebody else cast in that role who we wound up letting go of very last minute to be Marshall's dad. It didn't work. Like, we were rehearsing for the episode. There were some personality clashes. Josh, do you remember this at all? Do you even know what I'm talking about? I'm not going to name the names.
Oh,
do you remember it? Yeah.
We're not going to name names, but yes, there was another kind of somewhat legendary TV actor. Yeah.
Oh my God. Right. We can't name it. Would be crappy to name names, but there was a personality conflict. Kind of. It just wasn't fitting. The energy wasn't fitting.
I do remember coming in the next day and him being gone and it being like, it wasn't like one person thought he should leave. It was like everyone was like, no. He was dangerous to the health and safety of
Okay,
the
fine.
set.
It was Kevin Spacey. I'll just say it.
Yeah. But no, I wasn't there obviously for like when it went down, or maybe I was because it was like a weird run through. But because he was replaced, I don't think he shot anything, right? He was replaced.
No, he
before.
didn't shoot anything. It was,
Yeah.
but that's how that's why I feel like I have to talk about it to answer that question, because we were in a freaking panic. We were like, what are we going to do? We have to shoot this hugely important role that's probably going to recur in series. And think about it, it recurred beautifully in series. And there's big shit that happens with Marshall's dad later in series, and you have to love him. You have to love Marshall's dad. You have to care for him. You have to know Marshall adores this man, and Marshall is who he is because of this guy. And boy, would that not have worked with the actor that we fired. It just wasn't happening. It wasn't clicking. It was just weird. And I mean, we probably got Bill Fagerbakke in the span of half a day. We just reached out to him. I don't know, maybe it was like a last minute idea. Had we had that idea sooner, I feel like we would have cast him he's so great. I don't know why we didn't just start there. I wish I remembered. It would be such a better story if I could remember, but it was a last minute idea. We're like, yes, him.
Sometimes as an actor, I actually like to be the last minute solution to people's problems, because you don't feel like you're going up against every other actor in the world. You actually feel like, oh, they're in trouble, and I think I might be the guy. Like, I think I might be the answer to their prayers. So there's something almost nice about being the guy who actually just happened to be available when you needed him, and it turned into a great multi-year gig for him. But it's kind of, to me, it's like, however you get a role is the right way to get a role. Like, that's just how it happened.
It was meant to be in some weird way. It was
meant to
be. Very
be,
convoluted process. It wasn't like I don't think he had come in and auditioned and we didn't cast him. God, I hope I'm not wrong about that. But I think it was just like, he's great. Maybe somebody knew him. Pam Fryman knew him. Somebody knew him and said, I bet if we called Bill, he'd show up in 3 hours from now and just jump in and yes and this motherfucker.
He had that kind of energy of like,
God bless him,
like real like utility man on the team. Like, would just do anything to get the
joyful and warm and everything you needed out of that role. Susie Plaxton.
She was wonderful, always wonderful. I thought she was such a good choice for Marshall's mom. She seemed like Marshall's mom. I don't know. She just really, I know she's supposed to. That's her job, but. She was wonderful.
They were A+. Bill and Susie. And how about her take when Lily says she's not going to take the name, and she's like, "But the aprons, like I made you a Mrs. Erickson apron. You have to now be named to that. How will this work?" She's so innocent and scandalized and sort of hurt in that moment. She's funny. She's probably 6 feet tall. She was so tall, maybe taller, and hilarious and perfect with Bill. The casting gods frowned upon us and then smiled upon us all within 24 hours. And then we had Bill for the rest of the series, and got to do some really emotional stuff with him later. And God, were we lucky that he had those chops and that warmth to merit, to support that storyline later. And I won't say what it all is, but
absolutely. I wanted to point out, maybe have you guys talk about someone that we don't talk about very much in this show, which is Eben Ham and the stand-ins, and Eben's cameo at the end of this show. I mean, he was with you guys for the entire time.
Eben, who's so good as the sheriff or the jail warden.
He's
I don't
really
know what
good.
you call him. But Eben was the stand-in for Marshall, for Jason, right? For
many years.
For many years, since day one. He did all 9 years on the show.
Explain what that is for people? That's when things are camera blocked and rehearsed and different things. Eben would sort of like Jason would sort of step out of rehearsal, and Eben would sort of do the camera blocking with the cameraman and with lighting.
So they would light it, sort of like and frame the shots. Yeah.
Yeah. But so much more than that too, because Eben and Gita, and we had a wonderful group of stands. Ron Nicolosi, may he rest in peace. We had all these wonderful people that were really part of the team. The stand-ins are really a part of the world of that stage. In fact, when we would do rehearsals and run-throughs, when we didn't have the actors playing all the other side parts, the stand-ins would play those parts. They're actors. They're good actors. Ron, Gita, and Eben, they were really good actors. And so they would run throughs in front of the studio and the network. And when they got a laugh, it was great. It helped our writing. It helped our performance of run-throughs and rehearsals, that they were so good. And then sometimes they were so good, we'd say, you're going to do that part. And that's probably what happened. I bet Eben did it at the studio network run through, and we're thinking we're going to cast someone. We said, screw it. We're not going to cast someone. We'll just let Eben do it. That happened a couple of times. That happened with Ron,
every stand-in. I mean, Ron had a recurring role at the TV station,
yeah,
right?
Ron was recurring.
Yeah,
Totally.
yeah. Well, I just want to say something about Ron, and he passed recently, and he was just a delight, Ron Nicolosi.
He sure was.
And he was Neil's stand-in. And if you saw a picture of Neil and Ron next to each other, normally they try to get like the same height, same build, like, because they have to light it, right? So they want the framing to be. And Ron looked nothing like Neil.
He's not an NPH type. He's not a suited up. He was not. He was. You wouldn't.
But he also he would wear those heel, like he had like 4-inch platform heels. Yeah, like big boots.
Like what Peter Boyle was wearing in Young Frankenstein.
To try to get to be Neil's height.
To be the right height. He was much shorter than Neil, yeah.
And also when Neil, like maybe Neil was out sick or something during a run through and Ron would do Barney, he would crush, but in a totally different way than Neil, because he had like a real New York or a Boston accent, right? Wasn't he from Boston?
Accent.
And he had a real thick Boston accent. So just picture a guy who doesn't look like Neil, gray hair, just crushing short. Barney, but in a totally different way than Neil. So funny.
So funny every time, to the point where he had fans in the executives, like the studio and network run-throughs. Sometimes Alex Jaffe would whisper to me, she's like, oh, I see that Ron's going to have a line. Shh, I want to hear what Ron's going to do with this. And she was like a fan of Ron. And this is all to say that we loved Ron, and he RIP.
And Gita also. Gita was, I think, Kobe's stand-in, or was she Ali's? I can't remember. But Gita was on the show. She'll pop up. We'll point her out.
You see Gita on the all of them were on the show because they were all so good. They were great. They're such a part of the fabric of the show, and they are good actors, and they would score at run-throughs, and they'd help us out so much. And then we'd often give them a part because they were so good in it, or So thank you guys. Thank you.
Shout out to the stand-ins.
Shout out to the stand-ins, and an RIP to Ron Nicolosi, who was a real heart and soul part of the team.
Oh, hey, everyone. There's a little more. There's a bonus to our bonus episode here. If you are watching on YouTube, you'll notice we were all dressed differently. It is the next day because after we recorded our general questions.
That was me. I was late.
Episode. I surprised you on that one. We got an email from Chris Miller with a little more information about this episode, and we were able to match up his answers with some more of your questions.
Chris and Phil were sorry they couldn't be with us. We wanted to get them for that episode. Maybe we can have the two of them on for a special combo Lord Miller episode sometime in the future. We'll see. They're doing posts on another huge, amazing movie. But Chris wanted to make sure he threw in a few tidbits, and that's what this is. So,
all right. So Hannah Joe Little asks, have any of you ever been arrested for public urination?
I'll start it off because I was in the writer's room with Chris, and I will say that I forgot almost all of this and was delighted with Chris throwing this out there. So he says, Chris's answer to that question is, Barney getting arrested was based on my brother-in-law, David Mergio. You're welcome for the shout out here, David, whom I have met in real life and is a lovely man. The brother of Robin Mergio, Chris's wife, who is the loveliest person. But apparently one night, David Mergio, he got stopped by cops for peeing in the alleyway behind a bar in New York and was forced to do community service. Again, David Mergio. We love him. We love Robin. We love Chris. And that is blame Chris if you're upset that we talked about that. You talked to Chris about that.
I love that he's like he includes the full name. He's not saying unless
a guy I know.
You want to check this guy out, he's on LinkedIn.
Abhaja Iprakash asks, love the Thanks Teeny. I haven't tried it, but would like to. Tell me it tastes amazing. I want Thanksgiving in my mouth. What is that from?
Well, Chris writes, the Thanks Teeny was a gimmick we invented so Lily would have an excuse for barfing that wouldn't give away the pregnancy scare, and I made one to test it out. The bouillon cube was removed after 5 seconds, And it was, as you would expect, disgusting.
I completely forgot about that, but that did happen, I think, in the room. That was amazing. Or maybe Chris did at home, but yes.
So there are many questions, of course, about the salad, and Takia Eshan asks, who came up with the salad recipe? Is that someone's actual family recipe?
Chris Miller writes, visiting Marshall's family was based on a trip Phil and I took to visit our friend Lynn Ricketts. We're calling out everybody's name in here. And her family in upstate New York. They made a 7-layer salad that had mayonnaise and I think marshmallows. And we thought it was like a foreign planet, which is very much in the spirit of what Lily feels. The salad we made for the episode had potato chips, gummy bears, mayo, and more. Yes, I remember everyone had had crossed paths at some point with some salad, kind of like this. A lot of people in the room, but I forgot specifically this. Lynn Ricketts, great salad. Thank you for the inspiration.
Samuel Perez, 1909, says, this is one of those episodes that looks fantastic while watching it. But with all the tall people in this episode specifically, how or what changes did you make to make everyone seem bigger? And what are some of the challenges to capture Allison compared to the tall talent around her? And Jessica Wallace, XOX, similarly asks, when you cast Marshall's family, did you just request, quote, the tallest actors of all time?
Chris writes, the big thing that we thought was funny was little Allison imagining giving birth to a giant baby. So the episode was mostly about casting the tallest people we could. So Marshall was the shrimp, 6'4", Jason Segel. And we learned we got character payments every time a character we introduced in our script was reused. So we were very excited to cast the brothers. And every time they came back, we would high five them because they were getting work and we were getting like $100.
Yeah. And those guys really still need that $100 because they've only each won one Oscar apiece.
I don't know that I knew that if you introduce a character in your episode and then they recur, you get a little...
Yeah. We get him for this character we created, Ted Mosby.
I think you should just sign those checks over to me.
We can talk, Ella. We can cut that part out right
now. Nope. Apparently, I don't edit. We get people offering to edit the show all the time. And, Nellet Win 4 says, this isn't specific to the episode, but I'd love to hear more about the music selection for Him Yim and how the music supervisor job worked. I've sort of chosen that as a question to lead into this information we got about some music in the episode.
This is what Chris says. This is a story about the band, the 88, that Chris and Phil were friends with and helped us out a few different times on Him Yim. And Chris says, okay, so I'll tee it up since it wasn't the question really teed up. In Belly Full of Turkey, you hear the song Mr. Roboto, which is a hilarious song to be playing at a strip club. I just love that on Thanksgiving, that's the song she's dancing at a strip club. And the idea was going to be that we would then, at the end of the episode, have the sweet, touching song be like this really sort of indie rock, acoustic, slow, emotional version of Mr. Roboto. And the 88, who are awesome dudes, said, we'll make that for you. That's hilarious. We'll do it. And they made like actually a really moving, pretty sounding version of Mr. Roboto. Chris says about it, the craziest thing is because of the Mr. Roboto reference earlier, we all thought it would be cool to get the 88 to do a cover of Mr. Roboto for the final scene. Adam and Keith, who run that band, I think, did it. And it's awesome. But ultimately, their song, You Belong to Me, was more emotional. But I always regret we didn't get to unleash that cover on the world. I still have it and use it in playlists sometimes. And
thank you. Yes. And thank you, Chris Miller, for sending us all of that. And we got a few more questions answered.
I am guilty. Please acquit me. All sins are forgiven in New York City.
How We Made Your Mother is hosted and executive produced by Josh Radnor and Craig Thomas. The show was produced by me, Alec Lev, and our co-producer is Doug Matica. Our audio producer and mixer is Alex Reeves at Point of Blue Studios, and our digital content producer, aka Gen Z Master, is Emily Blumberg. Artwork by John Morrow. Please follow, rate, and review the show on Apple Podcasts or your podcast player of choice. It really does help the show. Our theme song is NYC by our own Josh Radnor, with additional music by Craig Thomas and Andrew Majewski. Special thanks to Lola Kennedy and Elliot Connors. Visit howwemadeyourmother.com to sign up for our Substack mailing list and for links to our social media. You can also click on the contact page to send us an email or a voice message. Your stories and questions are an important part of the show. Want some merch? Click on the store link or go to howyougetyourmerch.com. Subscribe to Josh Radnor's Muse-letters on Substack. Order Craig Thomas's debut novel at craigthomaswriter.com/novel. And you could subscribe to my Dead Fathers Society, also on Substack. To learn about how you make a difference, this show's ongoing campaign to raise money for congenital heart disease research, check out the Make a Difference tab at the top of our website. This episode was made possible by the support of Backyard Ventures. People will, in fact, dance.
The real question, it just hit me. Am I in love with you, or just New York City?